Is Indiana Fever leadership, the president, talking about trying to build the Fever brand.
Like, this is embarrassing.
That shit should have never came out of her mouth in public.
They want to use Caitlin Clark fan base to uplift their franchise as a whole.
They don't mess up this Caitlin Clark situation. They will become the most valuable team in this.
The Indiana Fever quickly appeared to regret the way they handled Caitlin Clark, and fans are no longer convinced by the narrative surrounding the situation. Now that reality has set in, it's becoming clear that Caitlin is the driving force they may have underestimated all along. As pressure continues to build, the Fever seem to be scrambling to repair the damage and regain control of the situation.
Indiana Fever leadership, the president, talking about trying to build the Fever.
It all started when Indiana Fever President Kelly Krauskopf made the widely discussed comparison between the Indiana Fever and Apple. She spoke about building the kind of long-term powerhouse and lasting brand that Apple represents, and that single comment immediately caught fans' attention. For many supporters, that quote revealed exactly how the organization viewed its future and the direction it wanted to take.
The only organization that doesn't want to build around Caitlin Clark is the organization she's currently at. You have one opportunity, and her first initial is C and her second initial is C. You could replace Caitlin Clark with the second biggest star in the WNBA, which is...
The front office appears far more focused on branding and marketing than on basketball or building a winning team. Instead of letting success come naturally, they seem determined to control the spotlight before earning it. And when your biggest star is the main reason people even recognize the franchise exists, treating the situation carelessly is more than just tone deaf. It risks damaging the entire organization from within.
No, you don't. You don't have any opportunity. You have one opportunity. And her first initial is C and her second initial is C.
During brand, like Apple or something. I mean, we have a real opportunity.
But that is exactly what now appears to be happening. Caitlin Clark seems to have lost some of her leadership influence on the court, while the offense no longer revolves around her strengths the way many expected. Even the highly effective pick-and-roll chemistry she built with Aaliyah Boston has seemingly been pushed aside, almost as if the original game plan was abandoned altogether. And when Clark tried to rally her teammates during a huddle, the response from the Indiana Fever reportedly felt misplaced to many observers. Instead of bringing in a veteran voice, a coach, or someone to steady the group, attention shifted towards sending in a sports psychologist, creating the impression that Clark herself was being treated as the problem rather than the pressure surrounding the team.
Value is as high as it is ever, and it's nothing to do with what you've done, Kelly. You literally you took over and the team got worse.
Think about what that suggests. When Caitlin Clark steps into the leadership role the franchise supposedly needs, the response appears to shut it down rather than encourage it. At that point, critics argue the issue goes beyond questionable basketball decisions and starts to feel personal. To many fans, the Indiana Fever seem eager to benefit from the massive attention and popularity created by the Caitlin Clark effect, while at the same time limiting how much influence and spotlight she is allowed to have herself. And now, with growing scrutiny from fans and media alike, that approach appears to be backfiring in a major way.
You cannot push aside your greatest assets, sideline them. You cannot, you can't take the spotlight off.
Because the numbers are consistent, the pattern is hard to ignore. Games break records when Caitlin Clark is on the floor, while viewership drops significantly when she isn't playing. One bold projection summarized the situation in blunt terms, that even if a star like Angel Reese replaced her, a large share of the audience would still disappear, and the same would happen with someone like Paige Bueckers stepping in. The point being made is that Clark is the primary driver of attention right now, and without her, there doesn't appear to be a clear alternative capable of sustaining the same level of impact.
Caitlin Clark with the second biggest star in the WNBA, which is Angel Reese, and your viewership would tank by 70.
The situation, as described, looks increasingly chaotic. The offense appears disjointed, and the once promising chemistry between Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston is said to have faded. Some commentators have also suggested that coaching under Stephanie White has regressed as the season has progressed. Critics argue that breaking up what they viewed as a developing star pairing has triggered significant backlash, leaving the Indiana Fever in a difficult position. From this perspective, the fallout is only just beginning to unfold.
The fandom is in pure crash-out mode. Somebody exposed something.
The Indiana Fever reportedly believed they could manage the Caitlin Clark phenomenon by controlling the narrative and shaping it into a strategic marketing advantage, but that approach is increasingly being questioned. As time passes, it looks harder to argue that something as popular and emotionally charged as Clark's impact can be tightly controlled or packaged. Many now view her not just as a player, but as a broader cultural force. From that perspective, critics suggest the team's attempt to contain or direct that momentum is slipping out of their hands rather than working as intended.
Team could blow a massive opportunity. I said yesterday, I think Indiana is the best place for because it's a Midwest.
The Indiana Fever reportedly underestimated the scale of the attention surrounding Caitlin Clark and the intensity of her impact, which extends far beyond ticket sales alone. In this view, the franchise misjudged the strength of the momentum she brings, focusing less on embracing it and more on trying to manage or redirect it. As a result, some argue the organization now appears to be scrambling for solutions without fully acknowledging the scope of what has changed. Critics frame this as a major strategic mistake, suggesting that downplaying Clark's influence has alienated parts of the very fan base that was most eager to support her and the team.
Pretty much went on a tear, down on a tear with dismantling the team front office, man. They're putting everything on the blame of the...
For the Indiana Fever, this moment is being framed by critics as more than a coaching issue. It's an identity-level challenge. From that perspective, they were trying to play a careful long game, but Caitlin Clark has already changed the board entirely. In that metaphor, she isn't just another piece in the system. She's the decisive move that forces a response. The argument being made is that unless the franchise adjusts its direction in a meaningful way, it risks its future identity becoming overshadowed by this era rather than defined by it, reduced, in hindsight, to a transitional chapter in WNBA history rather than a stable, evolving organization.
And put cuffs on them as players, you certainly can't do that. You're going to create animosity, resentment towards the franchise because, I mean, if they'd have tried this with Jordan back in the day,
Fans are now reacting strongly, with some even organizing boycotts, refusing to attend games, buy merchandise, and closely tracking every decision the Indiana Fever makes. On social media, supporters are sharing clips, stats, and timelines to argue that the team is mismanaging the impact of Caitlin Clark, pointing out that games draw far more attention when she is featured prominently. Many fans credit Clark's popularity for turning routine WNBA matchups into must-watch events, and they believe the franchise has underestimated that influence. The backlash, they argue, comes from a feeling that the organization is not fully embracing the star power driving its visibility.